Flip, 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 Flip Weekly.
Hey, what's going on? This is Matt from flipweekly.com. You're listening to the Flip Weekly podcast. It's a podcast all about going to garage sales and thrift stores and trying to make some money. Now, this week we have made some money. We have gone to garage sales. We have gone to thrift stores. I mean, I don't want to be going to garage sales right now because it's winter, or at least it feels like it's winter. It's 5 degrees in the morning, so when you're getting up to go to these places, you're taking your sweet ass time. Like, I jump in the shower and I don't want to get out, and I just think the bed is right there. I don't have to be awake. It's like 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. It is so easy just to go back to bed. and you know, you have the BOLO, not the BOLO, the FOMO. Getting my words mixed up. You have the FOMO, the fear of missing out. On one hand, you know, you think like, oh, this place, this garage sale is going to have the best shit. Like in your mind, you're just thinking that the very first garage sale is going to have all the best shit because you're not going to go to it. Just like it's going to be the best. You're going to fill up bags and bags of shit. But on the other hand, you're like, no, it won't. you become the realist and you think, no, it's not going to have it's going to have nothing. It was funny. The first one I rocked up to, I walked inside and they had a fire going. I'm not kidding. Inside, they had like a wood fire with, I mean, what other sorts of fire could you get? They didn't have a gas fire. That is a thing. I don't know why I'm saying it's not a thing. But they had a fire going. I was like, fuck, can I just stay in here for a bit? There was nothing there. We'll get into that. You'll also see the title of this podcast. There's been some weird shit going on, and I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I would love to hear your opinion once we get into it. But the line is blurred for me now with thrift stores in what they can and can't do. I honestly don't know anymore. I have a ton of flips to get through too. We have some cool pickups for the week. I'll get into all of that. But first, I want to tell you about something I sold last week, and I received a message from the buyer. Now, I don't know about you, when I sell something and the buyer messages me like a few weeks later when the item has most likely arrived, my immediate thought is there's a problem. Whether it was the way I packaged it, whether I didn't describe the item properly, I always think, oh, what now? And I received this notification from the buyer, and I knew exactly who it was just based on the username. And I was out at the time and I saw it. I was like, I said some words out, literally out loud, just thinking, what now? Because the person that bought this item, the item was the Mr. Squiggle plush toy that I sold last week. I picked him up for $35 and I sold him for $200. Listen to the podcast last week or go to the Flip Weekly newsletter to see photos of what Mr. Squiggle is. But I got a message from the buyer. I knew his username because when the person bought it, the username sort of was within the realm of, oh, this person could be an eBay seller or somebody that would resell this. I was thinking maybe they're going to buy it and resell in the future. So I received the message and I was like, fuck it, let's just open it and see what they had to say. And they had nice things to say. My heart just like, it sunk and then it did whatever the opposite is. It rose again once I read the message. So this person just sent me through a message saying, and I quote, "Thank you so much, mate. I had him as a kid and stupidly donated him. I saved search for a couple of years waiting for the right one to pop up. Condition is incredible. I'm stoked," with a smiling emoji. And I was like, oh my God, that's so nice. That's so nice of this person to send through. Like, fuck you for giving me the heart attack initially, but that is so nice to say that, you know? If you're buying off eBay, there is nothing wrong with sending a follow-up message saying thank you. I replied to this guy because I had like that instant anxiety. I felt the endorphins of like counteracting, like giving me that imbalance. And I just wrote back like, "You've made my day, mate." Like, first of all, because it wasn't negative, and second of all, because it was such a positive thing to say. And this is one thing that I really like about the items that I try and buy and sell. It's because I like to find items that are almost the only one listed. So like, for example, that Mr. Squiggle, there was none other listed at the time. It was the only one. Like, I like to find those items that are rare, that are hard to find, and people are going to be like looking for them for a while. So to receive that message, I'm incredibly happy. Like, if you're a buyer, send those messages to the people you're buying from. But then again, I say that and I'm like, I don't want the buyers to constantly message me like this, just because of that like instant heart attack I get when I like receive those messages. So maybe not. But yeah, so nice, and made my day. Now back to the garage sales just quickly, because that's going to lead into what I want to talk about first. I struck out at both of the garage sales that I went to. The first one started at, I think it started at 8 o'clock, and I decided I was going to get there a bit early. I rocked up at 7:30, 30 minutes early. I know. I had every intention of waiting in the car. I wasn't going, I'm not going to go up and knock on the door. If somebody's out or if other people are out, whatever, I'll go, but I'm not going to go knock on the door. But I rocked up early. There was like nothing there, people had already been there. By the time I was like getting out of the car, there was like multiple people already walking back to their cars with stuff. There was piles when I was walking in. Well, not piles. There was like small piles, and there was just nothing, to be honest. And I don't know whether it's an Aussie thing, but whenever people describe garage sales as like huge, it's always the tiniest sale I've ever seen. Like, this first one was somebody that said that after 40 years, they're downsizing and everything must go, right? And in this case, if everything must go, it was a single room. They had the fireplace inside. There was a bunch of tools in the garage, and then inside there was a single room, and there was barely anything in there. Literally nothing that I was interested in. And I'm not talking about like a big room either. Like, picture a small Sydney apartment. Like, it was a small room like that, and there was honestly just nothing. So it was like a green flag for me when I see huge garage sale, and also like after 40 years everything must go. And one of the descriptors in the text was like huge lot of toys, and there's nothing there. Like, I don't know, there was the way people describe them here versus the way I see them over in the States in yard sales, where it takes up their entire driveway and inside garages, versus here where it's like a room, if that. The two different things, right? And then the second one I went to, again, was like a moving house sale. There was the inside of the garage, and that was it. It was literally it. And inside the garage, there was one table of items, and I took like 60 seconds to look at everything. I was off again. So I don't know what's going on, whether people just aren't having them anymore, or they think huge garage sale just means like I have a huge house and some of the stuff needs to go. I don't know. Maybe I'm rocking up too late, but yeah, I don't want to compete against people that are waiting hours beforehand. I guess that's the way it is, right? Maybe they are huge before I get there, and I'm just missing out. I don't know. I'm not going to do it anyway. I'll rock up at the start time or 30 minutes beforehand and just wait. Not that I want to wait either. Like, I purely didn't think I was going to be waiting in the car for 30 minutes. I thought that'd be opening up, but yeah, there's not much there. So I struck out at both of those sales, and at that point in time, it was like after 9 o'clock. So I was like, well, I have this entire day. I hadn't created any plans. Let's go and hit up the thrift. Let's just do a couple. I'm in an area that I'm not usually in, so let's take a look. Now, the thrift store that I went into, it was a Salvos, and if you go onto social media, you'll be able to see a video of what I'm about to tell you. The thrift store had absolutely nothing in there, and I know I've said that before, and I've just said this about the garage sales. There was nothing there, but they had nothing. It almost seemed like a $2 shop, like a $1 bargain store. You go in there, and I just saw like all of this junk. Like there was like these plastic mustaches in bags, and I'm thinking like, what is this? I literally was thinking to myself, all of this is junk. I'm going to create a video of what not to buy at a Salvos because there was just so much content there. Glow in the dark mustaches. I have the videos on me. They had, and I'm not kidding, like 15 single series of The Big Bang Theory for like the first season. They had almost like 10 copies of Wii Fit. Just, it seemed like all of the junk from the other stores was sent through to this one store. They had plastic storage tubs that cost more than buying them brand new from Bunnings. Containers full of really cheap looking keyring Rubik's cubes. They just had so much cheap plastic junk. All would have been imported, right? And when I walked a bit further back, I came across something that sort of got me a bit excited at first, and then my head came into it thinking, no, let's be real. What I saw was a huge container of hundreds and hundreds of sealed Pokemon booster packs. I walked around the corner, and I have to admit, when I saw them, for like a fleeting second there, I thought I had hit the jackpot. But like I said, it didn't take me long to realize that without a single doubt, these are 100% fake. And you know, there was people walking past, there was couples walking past, and everyone that walked past was like, oh shit, like Pokemon? And then the next thing was, wait, are these real? And when I say hundreds, I mean hundreds. The way that these must have been donated, like you would have to bring them in a truck. These would have had to be on a pallet, right? Like nobody is just bringing these in to donate. And I'm just thinking, there's no price tags on these items. There's nothing that says these are real or fake. And I just don't know, like, is this legal? Can you do this? This is something you would expect to see in like a dodgy market, right? Fake Pokemon cards, fake sealed Pokemon cards. I went up to the counter with them. Like I said, there was no prices, and this is all on social media now, like the video and stuff, if you want to check it out. But they were $3 for a small one and $5 for a large one. They came in two different sizes. I asked them if they were fake. I basically said they're fake cards, right? And the people at the cash register said that they have no idea. They're not Pokemon people, so they don't know. But one of the ladies also said, we're guessing that they are, but we don't know for sure. Now, look, I get that the thrift store can't check every single item that comes in for authenticity. You know, if I'm bringing in an NBA jersey in a single donation bag with a bunch of clothes, they're not going to be able to, I mean, I wouldn't expect them to know if it was real or fake. They will price it as if it's real 100%, but they cannot really know for certain unless they have somebody in the back that can authenticate it, or if they pay an online service to authenticate it for them. So I get that. I get that they can't do that. It's not reasonable. But when you're putting out what amounts to essentially a pallet of Pokemon cards, fake Pokemon cards, where if they all sell, hundreds and hundreds of people would have spent money on this, it just seems a bit dodgy. And we know that when we're donating items to thrift stores, they're so picky now. We know that they're picky. I swear to God, I would say maybe 1 in 5 have a sign up saying we're not accepting donations today. Or they say we're not accepting children's toys or children's books or whatever. So for them to accept what amounts to an entire pallet of Pokemon cards, who is authorizing it? Like, I know this sounds bizarre. I know this sounds like I'm questioning, I don't know, like Salvos management. But honestly, who is authorizing it? Who is accepting the donation? Because they would have had to say, look, we've got a whole truck full of Pokemon cards. They're fake. Whether or not they said they're fake, can we bring them in? Because it would have taken multiple people to get these out, like to stock them all up, right? Are they questioning, are these fake? Are these real? You would think they would, because if they were real, then they would send them off, or they would price them higher. They wouldn't just price them at $3 each or $5 each. Because if they were real, we're talking like tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. So makes no sense, at least to me, for them not to know that these aren't real. To know that these aren't real. So if you think like that, then the only explanation is they know that they're fake. So if they know that they're fake, are they allowed to do that? Honestly? Like, are they honestly allowed to do that? There's no sign or information near the tub, near the container. So an unsuspecting person that goes up to it might buy them thinking they're real. You know, a mum or a grandma or anyone would see Pokemon, or like my grandkid loves Pokemon, let's buy them, and it'll turn out that they're fake. So I don't know. I looked on like the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, the ACCC. I know this sounds like we're trying to shut down a charity shop, but I promise you it's not. We're not. I'm just so perplexed as to how this is allowed, right? So I looked on the ACCC to see what they say about things like that, and they state under their false or misleading claims document that silence can be misleading, and that in some circumstances failure to disclose information can be misleading, which is, I guess, what they've done. Like, have they purposely not put up a sign saying Pokemon cards $3, $5 each? Why aren't they labeling the items with prices? Because I'll tell you something, those glow-in-the-dark mustaches and all that other cheap shit, they all have prices on them. I don't know why these don't. And if I listed these on eBay, you know for certain that it's going to get taken down because it's not an authentic product. And if I try and sell these in a store, what do you think would happen? I'd get fucked. I'd get fucked by the ACCC, by the government, because you can't sell fake shit. But can you sell fake shit if you're a thrift store? Because it's just a quote-unquote donated item. But then who's donating these like glow-in-the-dark mustaches? I would think they're importing these and selling them themselves. Are they importing fake Pokemon cards and selling them themselves? I really don't know. And it just seems so dodgy. Like, what realm are we operating in? If I start a charity, can I sell fake shit? Because trust me, I know how to get fake shit. I would sell a fuckload of fake shit. Somebody draw the lines for me. But anyway, I bought 2 packs. I bought 2 packs because I wanted to check them out. And, I got home and opened them up, and inside the pack, they weren't even like packs. They were just open cards inside, and they were so obviously fake. Like the centering on the cards were poorly made. It was just really low quality fakes. So yeah, if anybody has some insight into the buying practices of Salvos, let me know. Tell me who is making these decisions to either buy fake Pokemon cards or allow them to be on the store. Because in the same store where you're trying to sell designer labels, high quality items, not that there's really that much in there. Like I said, the store was pretty empty. Like, they had mostly imported cheap plastic shit, but of course they have their little rack with the designer labels. If they're fine selling like fake like cards, what's to say that they're not fine selling higher priced fake designer labels? I don't know. I just wouldn't buy anything that was supposedly real from this place, just because they're fine doing that. So yeah, let me know. I guess it would be cool to get the fake Pokemon cards for like a family member that has a kid that you don't really like. You don't have to go out and spend a ton of money on the booster packs, $100 or whatever the fuck they are. You could just go get them fake ones, because I don't think a kid would be able to tell, right? Like, I don't think a kid would know what a fake Pokemon card is. They'll just open it up and be like, hell yeah. Actually, they wouldn't be like, hell yeah, because from what I've seen, kids don't give a fuck when they open those cards. They just want to move on to the next pack, because it is fucking gambling for kids, and you know what I think about that. But we're going to do a little poll a bit later when we're going to secondhand opinions. Let's move on to where I actually bought something that I can resell, because we can't resell fake Pokemon cards. So I went to a thrift store. I went to a Lifeline. This Lifeline's always been good to me. It's bittersweet because I love finding items there, but I really, really hate checking out, because everybody that works there will always look at the item, like look at you and then look back at the item and be like, oh, cool. Or like, what's this? Or I remember when I bought a I've probably told this story before, at least in the newsletter. I bought like this vintage Bratz pillow. It was, I think like it was less than $5 and it sells for about 50. It's just a pillow and it has a Bratz character on it. You know, the old fashioned doll that could have its feet removed. My sisters used to have them when I was a kid, but I saw that and I comped it up and I could turn like $3 into 50. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll buy this. But I was like, I don't want to check out with this because the people there are so inquisitive about what you're buying. And I went up and I said, like, I'll just get this, please. And she looked at the doll and she looked at the pillow and she looked back at me. She was like, oh, this is cool, like Bratz. And I was like, oh yeah, it's Jade from Bratz, because the name of the Bratz character was on the pillow. And she looked at me and she was like, and she looked at the person that was next to her, because for some reason they need two people to help me check out a pillow. She said to her, oh, he knows her name. And I think I fucking died of embarrassment right there. I wanted to smother myself with that fucking pillow. So embarrassing. So I went to this Lifeline and I found a plush toy. It was a little mouse. Name's Maisie the Mouse. Now you might remember Maisie the Mouse from the late 90s. Maisie was a TV show and also a children's book series. The TV show was based on the book series. Just a little mouse. You might remember it. It only aired for one season back in 1999, but with reruns and DVDs and VHSs, it's still around today, and I think they're rebooting it, or at least they were rebooting it in 2024. So it became like a staple on TVs across the world, here in Australia too, like it's UK based. The plush toy was $5. It had its original tag. Maisie was in like this little overall outfit with a bag. Now, the bag, when you open it up, it had like a book and a little teddy bear inside of it. And you can pull them out. So it's two additional little toys that come with this plush toy. She's only small. It was like 20 centimeters tall, had the original tag. I think I said that already. And I recognized it immediately just from the illustration on the tag and the name on it too. Like Maisie, oh yes, childhood, whatever. I don't remember watching it. I don't remember reading the books. However, like the logo and the illustration style really stuck with me. So like that nostalgia part in my brain just sort of like went off, right? And I did some research into Maisie, and there doesn't appear to be that much value in like the physical media, like the books or the DVDs. But where the value lies in this old TV show, old children's book, is in the plush. The plush do really well, and there's not that many around. Like we're talking a sell-through rate of over 50% and an average sale price of upwards of $50. So I looked up this exact comp, this exact plush. Only one had sold. And again, there isn't many of these. And the sold comp was for $79.90 plus $10.95 post. So a total of $90, $90.85. So with mine having the original tag on it, being in great condition, having no active listings, I'm not going to hesitate. I listed it up for $99.95. So that would be a $100 plush toy for something that you can fit in your pocket. And I just want to give you a reminder that the plush category is honestly, it's made up of primarily low-hanging fruit, items that will sit for months and sell for like under $30. So when you're buying plush toy, you really need to do your comp research when you're out and about. You really need to look up your items, because you do not want to get stuck with plush toys that are just going to sit and sit and sit. Aim for that high sale price, aim for a high sell-through rate, and make it worth your while. 5 into $100, for example, it's making it worth my while. Now on Saturday, when I visited the thrift, I decided to go to a new Savers store sort of in my area. It's called Savers Auburn. Got recommended it to me on Instagram, and like I said, it's a sort of a new location. It's half an hour from the Sydney CBD, and it's less of a trek for people like me that can't be bothered to go out all the way to Savers Preston's. Like, we still only have like 5 Savers stores in New South Wales. I think there's about double that in Victoria. So when a new one pops up, It's all over social media, or at least within my algorithm. I'll make my way out there eventually, but the thing is, though, I find savers to be like, I don't know, their staff are just a bit too good at their jobs. I do think that the staff are doing a very good job at keeping items that are like valuable off the floor. Not that great for us, but I do think that it's getting harder and harder to find items at savers. At least for me, when I'm trying to, find something for $1 and turn it into 100. I'm sure you'll be able to find a ton of clothing. Would have small margins and sit for months, but that's not the stuff I want to find. So the only times I'd really ever go there is when I was like on the way back from visiting family. So I checked this one out, and does having this new one here close to me change my mind? Will I be visiting it more often? Not really. Honestly, not really. There are a few things that caught my eye, but there was nothing for me that was worth buying or like even taking a photo of. There was like one of the little soldiers from the Fisher-Price Great Adventures castle in one of their throw bags, and I saw that and I thought, oh shit, am I going to find like my holy grail, the castle with the little figures? No. I found like a couple of Goosebumps first edition UK covers, but they're not worth picking up really unless they had like something on the inside. That's the thing with Goosebumps books. Like if they're priced up, look on the inside to see if they have like a bookmark or a poster, because I would be buying those, but none of them really did. And they're priced up at like, I think they're like $3.50 each. So once you buy, I think there was 7 of them, you're paying like $23 and you'd be selling them for not much more than that. So I don't know. There was nothing really there. It makes it seem like I was just looking for Goosebumps books. It's the only thing I fucking buy and sell. No. So honestly, I was going to walk out there empty handed, and I was walking to the front of the store. It's not that big, the store. And there was people on like either side of the aisle, so I had to go down the ladies' clothing aisle, and I'm not kidding, as I'm walking past, I see something that catches my eye, and I don't know how, like the human brain, man, there's something about that human brain. Subconsciously, I must have spotted what appeared to be like sporting colors within the rack, because it made me stop and do a double take. And what do you know, it was a fucking rugby union jersey from New Zealand for a team called Otago, and the jersey was from 2014, and it had sold previously online for like $79.99, like pounds, like Great British pounds, which is like over $150. It was $6.50, and the cynic in me is thinking like, oh, this jersey was put here in the women's section on purpose, like in the women's shirt section on purpose. It's a spot where people looking for jerseys, looking for rugby jerseys or rugby fans, they wouldn't think of looking down there. Like they're not going to go down like the women's blouses section for a rugby jersey, right? Chuck it in a spot where it won't sell, and then somebody can come back at the end of their shift and pick it up. That's the cynic in me. However, saying that, maybe it's just because of like the neckline, the shape of the neckline, because I think it does have a neckline that would resemble like a women's shirt. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with women's shirts, but it does. So it's not like a V-neck. It's sort of like a cross between like a V-neck and a crew neck. So it was put there in the women's section. It was $6.49. Like I said, this thing has sold online for a lot of money in the past. So I put it up on eBay for $100. It's already got a bunch of people watching it, and I think it will sell quite quickly. So, I mean, that made it worthwhile, turning $6.50 into $100. But yeah, savers, man, I think they're just too good at their jobs. And I like to think, when we're going to thrift stores, we're battling the thrift store employees' knowledge of items. And in some cases we can win, but at savers, man, like, I don't know. I think they're just a bit smarter than me. That's going to make the following items quite controversial, because we're going back to a Vinnie's, and I'm not saying I'm smarter than the Vinnie's staff, but this first item, they had a bunch of video games donated, and I like to see when they stock up on their video games, because 99% of the time, all of the video games are going to be lying in that sort of like $5 to maybe $15 mark. They're only going to put out video games that sell for under $20, basically. They're not going to put out valuable games. You're always going to see the exact same games in thrift stores. I've said this a million times. Like that Salvos earlier, there's only going to be Wii Fits, a couple of Wii Sports. You'll see the Wii Cricket game. Just, honestly, just junk, right? So I found an Xbox 360 game. It was called Soul Calibur 4. And usually for me, when I'm looking at video games, I've learnt this from playing Flipvidia, by the way. If you go to flipvidia.com, you'll learn how to spot video games that are worthwhile picking up. It's flip and then vidya, so vidya.com. It's a game I made. It basically shows you 3 video game titles, and you click on the one which you think is worth the most, and if you win, you get a point and you continue on. If you lose, you have to start again. There's a whole leaderboard. It's basically like flashcards. It's a way to try and memorize video game prices. I created that so that when I'm out in the thrift or I'm out at a garage sale, I don't have to say how much do you want for the entire box of video games. I can pick and choose which ones that I want to buy. And that's helped me out tremendously at garage sales. Like I've done it before where there's a whole tub of games and I just pick out the ones that I want. The Simpsons Hit and Run $100 game, and leaving everything behind. I remember at one garage sale, I picked out a few games, including controllers, and I was like, first I asked how much, and they're like $5 each. So I picked out what I wanted, and when I was checking out, she was like, can I still sell the rest of this stuff? Like, do you just get the stuff that makes this like work? And I was like, no, you can still sell the rest. And I walked away with hundreds of dollars worth of like good shit just because I knew what to pick out. I didn't have to scan. I didn't have to like do any comps. So back to the thrift store, I found this game, Soul Calibur 4. I knew it was around like a $15, $20 game, which is not a game I'd usually pick up. But the thrift store, they still don't know or still don't realize that sealed games, brand new sealed games, make the game worth more money. When you have a $20 game that's pre-owned, which they would have looked this up, they would have seen that the game's about like $10, $15 pre-owned, put it out anyway. However, when it's brand new, when it's sealed, that price jumps up. We have sold comps between $50 and $93. So this $5 game I can put up on eBay for about $70, and someone's going to buy it for their collection because there's collectors of video, brand new sealed video games. The older the console, the better the game. The older the console, the better the sale price in most cases. So the Xbox 360 is sort of getting on the old side now. Like it's the console that came after the original Xbox. It's the one that came before like the current Xbox and all that sort of shit. So yeah, I'm always looking for like the shine of the plastic on the games, or I'll just run my finger over them. I'll collect all that fucking thrift store germs on my finger so I can find a sealed video game. Now, a couple of other cool items I bought this week. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I was at a Vinnie's and I found for $2 each Animorphs book number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Got that complete set 1 to 5. They're the 3D hologram cover ones, which I think are really cool. They're in great nick. Somebody's going to snap these up. They're on eBay now for $50. It'll be like 10 into $50. I bought them just because I thought they were cool, and I like selling stuff like that. And if I ever get back into reading like I did a few years ago, then maybe I can read them. But yeah, they were cool. The next thing was it was a hoodie. It was the first time I've ever found in the wild a Teddy Fresh hoodie. Teddy Fresh is a clothing brand. I think it's like a streetwear brand. It's created by I guess former YouTuber or YouTubers, H3 Productions. I used to watch them back in the day on YouTube, and then one of the hosts, I guess, of their podcast created this fashion brand called Teddy Fresh. Their stuff's really expensive. It's also easy to pick out if you see it. If you go on the newsletter, flipweekly.com, you'll be able to see what the hoodie looks like. It's a color block hoodie, so it uses really light pastel colors. The logo, I'm very, very familiar with this. And I didn't even comp it when I bought it because I just thought it was cool. So I bought it for $12 and it'll go up for $80. They're hard to find in Australia, so I think someone will buy that quite quickly. You can get lucky with this brand too. They do collabs with so many different companies like SpongeBob, Looney Tunes, Rip and Dip, all these like sort of, they have like the known brands and then like some streetwear brands, I think. So yeah, they can go up to a lot of money. If you go on the Teddy Fresh website, you'll see like some items that are hundreds of dollars. So that was a cool find. Never found it before. I can check that off my list. And there's a few other items on the Flip Weekly newsletter. Check them out. I'm not going to go into them that much now because I want to jump into some of the sales for this week, and then we're going to jump into secondhand opinions. So what did I sell? I think sales have been a bit slow just because we're coming towards the end of the month. People can run out of money at the end of the month. No huge purchases. We do have the first one, which, I mean, it was $12 into $100. It was a bunch of DVDs, 3 DVDs. It's for a television series called The Lost World. Now, it's nothing to do with Jurassic Park or Michael Crichton. It was based loosely on a novel written in 1912, long time ago, by somebody called Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So if that name sounds familiar to you, that's the dude that created Sherlock Holmes. So he wrote a book called The Lost World, and this mob created a TV series about it. It ran for 3 seasons. It has a really good sell-through rate, over 60%. And you can ask for like $100 sale price for it. So I had to pay up for the DVDs. I think I paid like $12 for the 3 DVDs. If you can find it in a thrift store with like $1 DVD, $2 whatever, you'll be able to like make a greater profit. But yeah, I paid up. But honestly, when I first saw this, like I swear to God, and if you go on the Flip Weekly newsletter, I know I've said that so many fucking times now. If you go on it, man, like I swear to God, I thought this was some sort of like 90s prehistoric, like adults only DVD. Swear to God. The cover of this thing has like a chick in, like there's boobs galore, man. And on the back cover, there's boobs galore. And it just has sort of that low budget feel that looks like when you open this up, it's going to be like a porno, right? That isn't what attracted me to this, by the way. It was the fact that there was like a dinosaur on the front cover as well. And I just looked at it and I was like, man, this dinosaur looks fucked. This does not look good at all. I was just thinking, what is this show? It just looks bad. But it doesn't really matter if it sells for $100, right? So it's a DVD to keep an eye out for. Fucking The Lost World. Just if you ever see prehistoric 90s graphics and it's called The Lost World, buy it. Yeah, you can make some money. The next was just sort of like a standard VHS player, you know. I found this for $6. It sold for $150, and I'm sort of getting a bit daring with my VHS players where I don't really look up comps, or if I look up comps, I just ignore them. Like this thing was just the VHS player with like the power cord and the other cords, like the AV cords or the RCA cables, whatever you want to call them. And there was none that had sold. There was like ones that you could buy for under $100, like $99 that come with a remote and everything. And I was like, oh, fuck it. Chuck it up for $150, see what happens. And it ended up selling. It's so weird. I don't know when it comes to this sort of shit, if people are going on comparison websites to find model numbers for VHSs. Just think of the mind of a buyer. We always put the model numbers in the title. So this is Samsung SV-675. Are the people that are buying these sort of players giving a fuck about the model number? Or do they just care that it's a VHS player that works, right? So if I find one and like this particular model doesn't sell as well as like, I don't know, some other random model, why do I care about that if the buyer doesn't care about the model number? If there's no comparison websites or people saying online like, oh, if you want a VHS player, you need to buy the SV-675. I really don't think that's a thing. So I just list up for whatever and I just make sure that like it works. The people that are buying this, I think, are just buying it for, you know, to watch old tapes, and they don't really care about the model number. I could be wrong. I'm just talking out my ass, by the way. This is all anecdotal. I'm sure there's probably a bunch of old cunts that are looking around for specific model numbers, and yeah, the one time I don't include it, they'll probably ask me a bunch of questions about it. But yeah, I'm just listing them up. $150, nothing special about it, no remote, and it's gone on to sell quite quickly too. I listed up on the 14th of May, so It's like barely over a month, right? Now, the next three items are things that took a lot longer to sell. The first one was these Johnson and Friends dominoes. I just thought they were really cool. I paid like a couple of dollars, like maybe $2 or $3. I can't remember. They sold in 6 months. I probably could have asked for more money. I got $34.95 for them. Johnson and Friends is such a classic television show. They don't have that much merchandise around, so I probably could have put these up for like $50, but $34.95, they were cool to have. The box was in horrible shape, and I just couldn't put them back when you see it, because you very rarely see Johnson and Friends out in the wild, unless it's one of the brand new like DVDs, you know, the DVDs that have the carry handle, like the children's ones. But I loved that show as a kid. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it holds up still, but I just know that, fun fact, the humans that played the characters wore the suits, and they built the set around them. Like, these weren't puppets. They were humans wearing suits, just like the Teletubbies. But instead of like being on a outdoor set, like, or I don't know if the Teletubbies were on an outdoor set, but Johnson and Friends were indoors in like a kid's bedroom, right? They built everything around them double their size so that it looked like these were actual toys. I thought that was really cool. And I didn't know that before, like a couple of days ago. So there's a fun fact for you. So yeah, these Johnson and Friends dominoes out the door, $35. And the next was something that doesn't have that sort of love in my heart. It was fucking Looney Tunes. A Looney Tunes personal organizer from 1995. Man, I've said this to you before, but Looney Tunes for me is like constantly teetering on the edge of like, I'm never going to buy this again, and it's a good thing to buy. Just as it's about to teeter off and be like, go off and I'll never buy it again, a sale comes in. This is like, it's not a big sale. It's a sale nonetheless. It was $30. The person paid postage too, just for like this little personal organizer that had, you know, places where you can put in addresses and birthdays and a diary and shit. People still use those apparently. So yeah, I don't know about Looney Tunes. It doesn't do anything for me. I didn't even like Looney Tunes as a kid. Like, we went to Movie World and we had like Looney Tunes rides, and I just remember thinking like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, get on with it. They had those animatronics back then. Fucking weird, man. So I don't know with Looney Tunes. I can't recommend them, and I can't tell you to avoid them. I don't know where the value is with Looney Tunes in the sense of like high ticket items. I don't even know if like a vintage Looney Tunes t-shirt would be worth picking up. Maybe one of those animatronics from Movie World. If you ever find one of those, that could be fun to pick up. But yeah, I don't know, Looney Tunes depends on what it is. I'll never buy like a personal organizer like this again. You know, it's just it's like a diary. It can't be worth like it's not going to be one of those items that you can turn one into $100. It's always going to be like this sort of $29.95 sale price, and I don't want to be selling something for $29.95. Like, I'm not fucking Kmart. Now, the next item is something that's sold in 7 months' time. It sold a lot slower than what it would usually sell for. It was a Parramatta Eels 2012 Rugby League jersey. So it was a sporting jersey. It sold for $75, but it took 7 months. The reason it took 7 months was because it had some marks and some stains on the front of it. Now, when I'm at a thrift store, I'm sort of like my mum 15 years ago, trying to date like drop kicks from our town, just thinking like, oh, I can fix it. I can take it home and fix it. I tried, it didn't come out, it didn't work, so I chucked it up anyway. I made sure to point out all the marks and whatever, and somebody bought it for $75, but you know, because I listed it 7 months ago, I got that sort of panic attack when I pulled it out and saw that it had those marks. I was thinking like, oh shit, I really hope I pointed those out. Like, I really hope I'm not going to have to refund this guy's money because I did a poor job of recovering this item. But no, luckily I had. If I get it back, I don't know. Yeah, I might donate it because it just won't be worth putting it up again. But look, here's a tip. If you aren't into sports, so if you do not give a fuck about sports, but you do give a fuck about money, you still want to make some money, here's a tip, right? Just ask a friend, ask a colleague, ask a family member. Ask them who or what is the most popular sports team closest to you. So if you have a stadium close to you, if you have a popular team near you, now get them to tell you that. Now get to a computer, Google the team's colors and Google the team's logo. This takes all of like 10 seconds. Do that. I want you to memorize that information. So in this case, if you're Googling Parramatta Eels, you'll see the logos of an eel. You know, it's not that hard. Blue and yellow are the colors. Blue and yellow, and it's an eel. So remember that information. And next time you visit the thrift store, keep an eye out for the jerseys that belong to that team. Now, the reason I tell you to look for the most popular sports team closest to you is because that's what the jerseys are going to be donated. So, for example, this jersey, NRL team Parramatta Eels, I found the item in a thrift store in Parramatta. Makes sense, right? And you have to remember that thrift store stuff is usually old. And in this category, old is good. Old jerseys are worth a lot of money. You will remember, or maybe not in the podcast, but in the newsletter, you'll remember last year I sold a jersey from 1997. It cost me $15 and I sold it for $550. It's a lot of money just for a t-shirt or just for a jersey. It doesn't take much to remember it either. You know, if you live in Newcastle, New South Wales, your local NRL team are the Newcastle Knights. Their colours are blue and white and red. Yeah, blue and red. You'll know, just look at their logo, go to your, like, it's just something else to look for in a thrift store. Like, we want to expand our categories and shit so that when we go to a thrift, we're not, like, leaving meat on the bones, right? Like, we don't want to be those people that just eat the white meat of a chicken, okay? We want to pull that chicken out of the bag. We want to tear it apart. We want to get all the fucking meat off it. We don't just want to get the fucking white meat. Just the top of it, you know, chuck your fingers in that heat bag and pull out just the top, make a sandwich, leave the rest of the chicken in the bag, never eat it, it goes off in your fridge. No, we don't want to be those people. You look in your normal categories, then you go over to where the jerseys would be in the men's section, look for those colors, and it's not there, great. Took you 3 minutes? No big deal. So we're going to move on. There's a couple more sales, check them out in the newsletter or whatever, but we're going to move on. Secondhand opinions. Because this topic, it's still with me, even though we've gone through all of these purchases and sales. The Pokemon thing from the beginning is still with me. But before I get into that, last week I asked you, if you find money inside a book at the thrift, do you, 1, leave the book and pocket the cash, 2, buy the book and keep it, or 3, hand it into staff? Just a reminder, last week I found a lottery ticket in the thrift store. I pocketed it and I left the book that it was in. I found it inside a Harry Potter book. The results are overwhelming, 72% in favor of buying the book and keeping the cash. I'm honestly surprised. In a area, in a category, in a industry, whatever, where we're trying to make money, flip items, increase our profit margins. I'm honestly surprised that leaving the book and pocketing the cash isn't the number one thing. Like, imagine if the book is just something that's worth no money. I guess people don't care. They want to buy the book. They want to keep the cash. I had to laugh that some people said hand it into staff. I'd love to meet those people. Must be very, very honest. Better than me, because I'm leaving the book and I'm pocketing the cash. I don't give a fuck. I also wonder if the people that are buying the book and keeping the cash, why is that? Like, is it the right thing to do, or is it like for a different reason? Like, they don't want to be seen pocketing the money within the store. But then it's like, what happens if you buy it and the money slips out when you're checking out? Do you then give it up to the person at the front? I don't know. I'm pocketing the money 100% of that time, just like I did with that winning scratchy that got me $0. But this week's topic, this is what I want to talk about briefly. I'm not going to keep you for long. There's going to be a poll at the end, which you can contribute if you go onto the Flip Weekly newsletter, and you can also email in, write in, whatever. So this week's topic is, should thrift stores be responsible for checking if items are fake? You know what happened with the Pokemon cards? There were so many packets of these cards, of these booster boxes, whatever, that surely they had to come in on some sort of pallet or a truck. They wouldn't have came in a bag. There's way too many. You'd need multiple people to unload these. Any questions being asked about them? We know how thrift stores have become with donations. I talked about it earlier. You take bags in, they turn away, they'll pick through it before you even donate them. And, you know, us as resellers, we get accused of being unethical all the time, right? But what happens when the thrift store is the one that's like selling fake shit? Like, should they be held responsible for selling fake items? Like, where does one draw the line? Is it okay to sell them if they were donated, but not okay if they imported them themselves? Like, I'm not accusing them of importing them themselves, but it's on the table, right? Like, is it okay to not ask questions about items that are being donated, especially if they come in bulk? Like, where did they come from? I don't know. I find it hard to believe that these would have made it to the thrift store floor if they were real. Like I said earlier, that'd be worth tens of thousands of dollars, right? Like, I don't know. Where do you stand on this issue? Question is, should thrift stores be responsible for checking if items are fake? The poll on the newsletter is 1 is yes, 2 is no, and 3 is only for high value categories. So yeah, I don't know. Jump online if you want to leave your vote, or just get in touch. Email, submit a form on the website, social media, you know how it is. And that's all I've got for you this week. Thanks again for listening. If you want to email, matt@flipweekly.com. That's Matt with 1T. Social media, we're all over social media on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Make sure you check those out today because I'll be posting the Pokemon video as well as a few other videos. Join the newsletter if you haven't already. There's always photos there and more information. I hope you guys do okay at the garage sales on the weekend. I hope you hit up the thrift. If you find anything cool, make sure you tell me, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening.
Flip, 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 flip weekly.